that starts with the idea of the two angels that came to Sodom in the evening as Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, says the Torah, he rose to greet them. Very similar to what Abraham did. Bowed with his face to the ground and said, "Please, my lords, I beg you to enter now into the house of your servant and spend the night." It's in Genesis 19, 1-2. Tells Martin Buber in Hasidic Tales that during a journey, the rabbi of Berdichev, Hasidic rabbi, stopped in Leif and went to the house of a wealthy and respected man. Granted an audience with the homeowner, he asked for shelter for a day, but he didn't reveal his name or title. The wealthy man responded gruffly, "I don't take in wanderers. Why don't you just go to some inn in town?" "I'm not one to stay in an inn," says the rabbi. "Just give me a small space in one of your rooms and I won't trouble you any further." "Get out of here," shouted the man. "If you won't go to an inn, then you know what? There is a school teacher, a schoolmaster house around the corner. He enjoys welcoming vagabonds like you and giving them food and drink." Rabbi Levi Yitzchak went to the schoolmaster's house where he was received with honor and given food and drink. But as he was on his way there, someone recognized him. And soon the entire city knew that the holy rabbi of Berdichev was in town and staying in the schoolmaster's house. He had barely rested when a crowd, like in the story of Lot, gathered at the door, eager to come in. When the door was open, visitors rushed inside the house to receive the tzaddik's blessing, the righteous man's blessing. And among them, guess who he was? Who was there? The wealthy man. He pushed his way through the rabbi and said, "Master, please forgive me and honor me and my home with your presence. All the tzaddikim who came to the city of Leif have been my guests." Rabbi Levi Yitzchak turned to those around him and said, "Do you know the difference between Abraham, our forefather, may peace be upon him, and his nephew Lot? Why is there such a sense of satisfaction in the story of how Abraham placed before the angels cards, milk, and tender calf, like all this hospitality that he gave to them? Why everybody so happy about it? And why is Abraham's hospitality to the angels considered so meritorious? Didn't Lot also receive them and give them shelter? He says, here's the truth of the matter. In Lot's case, it is written that angels came to Sodom. But regarding Abraham, the scripture says, "And he lifted up his eyes, and behold, 3 men were standing by him." Genesis 18:2. Lot saw angelic forms, but Abraham saw dusty travelers who needed food and rest. So we learn with Oem that Lot was corrupted by his environment. And by environment, we mean Sodom. So let me tell you a little bit about Sodom. And trigger warning, any connection with an imaginary tale or an imaginary city is merely casual. the Torah itself gives us very limited information regarding why Sodom needed to be destroyed. Because of the Torah says, because of the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah, because it is great, and because their sin is very grievous or very great. Nothing else. That's all we know. Later on, we learn through the story that Owen shared, but that's all we know when we learn about the city that is about to be destroyed. And so that gives lots of space to rabbinic Judaism to help us understand what was really going on in Sodom. Pirkei the Rabbi Eleazar teach that in Sodom it was decreed, whoever hands a piece of bread to a pauper, to a poor person or a stranger, shall be burned at the stake. Plotit, another daughter of Lot that is not mentioned in that story, was married to one of the leading citizens of Sodom. One day she saw a pauper starving in the street, and her soul was saddened over him. What did she do with that? Every day, when she went to draw water from the well, she would take some of the food from her home in her pitcher and feed the poor person. But the people of Sodom wonder, why is this poor person, how is this poor person surviving? Eventually, the matter became known, and she was taken out and burned as her cries rose to the divine throne. And by the way, the tradition connects this cry with the verse in Genesis, the cry of Sodom, the cry that the people of Sodom, the people that were living in the city of Sodom, was crying because of the injustices that were subjecting one to another. Now, as 2014, at least 31 U.S. cities had enacted or were considering ordinances that restrict or prohibit sharing food with homeless people, well, people in a state of homelessness in public spaces. By 2018, this number had increased to approximately 70 cities in the United States that were implementing the criminalization of serving food to people in state of homelessness in public spaces. In the Talmud, Sanhedrin 109, we learn a little bit about the system of Sodom. What do they say about immigration? The men of Sodom were corrupted only on account of the good which God had lavished upon them. The Talmud said they were too wealthy. They said, since there comes forth bread out of our earth, as bread was coming from the earth, like it was so easy. It was so easy to go to Costco and to get your grocery cart filled with things. And it has that earthly bread had gold, says the Talmud. Why should we, say the people of Sodom, tolerate wayfarers who came to us only to deplete our wealth? Come, let us abolish the practice of lodging travelers in our land. So I'm not sure they discussed building a wall or what they were discussing in terms of how to work with immigration, but the idea that the immigrant, and you hear my accent, right? The idea that the immigrant is coming to take something away from the people that live in that place is morally concerning. No matter what is your partisan affiliation, the idea that the humanization of the immigrant, the transformation of the immigrant into someone who came to steal something is morally incorrect and certainly concerning. But that's in Sodom. Now, let's talk about the taxes in Sodom. If a person had rows of bricks, the Sodomites came and each one took a brick, saying, I have taken only one. If a person spread out garlic or onions to dry in the window or outside, each one came and took one of those pieces of garlic or onion, saying, I have taken only one. So they would tax one to another. And I want to ask you, don't judge them too quickly. There was actually a legal system in Sodom. Says the Talmud that in Sodom there were 4 judges. One was called Shakrai, the other one Shakurai, the other one Sayafai, and Matzlei Dinah. And the Talmud explained further that they were named by their actions. Shakrai meaning liar, Shakurai meaning habitual liar, Sayafai meaning forger, and Matzlei Dinah, perverter of justice. If a man assaulted his neighbor, says the Talmud, his neighbor's wife, and caused her to miscarry, they would say to the husband, give her to him so that he may make her pregnant for you. If one could cut off the ear of his neighbor's donkey, they would order, give it to him until it grows back. If one wounded his neighbor, they would say to the victim, pay him a fee for bleeding you. But they could afford saying that because they actually had social welfare. So what do we know about their social welfare? They had a policy of one size fits it all. They had beds upon which travelers slept. If the guest was too long, they shortened him. If too short, they stretched him out. But doesn't end there. They engage in charity. If a poor man happened to come there, every resident gave him a dinar. They were generous. They were generous. Upon which that person who gave the dinar wrote his name, but not bread was sold to him. Nobody could buy with the dinars in which names were written. When he died, when the person who was not able to access bread because he couldn't buy bread died, each came and took back his dinar. Just 3 verses after learning about the decree for the imminent destruction of Sodom, we hear Abraham questioning God itself. The Torah says in Genesis 18:23, "Vayigash Abraham vayomer ha'af tispet tzadikim rasha." Abraham came forward and said, "Will you sweep away the innocent along with the guilty?" And we often think of this line as the purpose of the whole story. This line. The story of Sodom is here, we say to ourselves, to teach us a lesson about Abraham's sense of justice. And here it is. We learn our lesson. We should advocate for justice. And Sodom was really bad, but fortunately, it was destroyed. There is no more Sodom. So you don't need to worry, and we can call it for the day. That's it. We learned the lesson. Abraham was righteous. Sodom was burned. So we can go about our business without thinking about this any longer. Now, the idea that Sodom is gone may feel reassuring, but it's a comforting fallacy. Sodom isn't in the Torah to tell us about a distant, extinct immorality. It's there as a warning, a mirror, reflecting the ever-present danger of becoming an immoral society. It's the kind of society, the immoral society, that vilifies the stranger, that hoards its surpluses under the pretense of scarcity, that criminalizes acts of kindness, and that twists justice until it serves only the powerful. So what do we do with this? The Talmud, in Shabbat 54b, teaches us whoever is able to protest against transgressions of his own family and does not do so is held responsible for the transgressions of his family. Whoever is able to protest against the transgressions of the people of his community and does not do so is held responsible for the transgressions of his community. Whoever is able to protest against the transgressions of the entire world and does not do so is held responsible for the transgressions of the entire world. Rabbi Shai Held, in the Heart of Torah, explains, if Sodom is characterized by the word tze'aka, the outcry, the scream, Abraham and his descendants must evince tzedakah, not tze'aka, righteousness. This subtle wordplay, he says, serves to teach to us that the Jewish people are in the world, and I hope that not only the Jewish people. I'm quite sure that many other peoples are here in the world, at least in part, to embody a radical alternative to the brutal cruelty of Sodom. We are charged never to go along, never to get along in the face of injustice, as we are challenged by God, says Rabbi Held, to speak out. And I will add one more word. Sometimes we are so busy inside our tents, suffering our own pain, as Abraham was at the beginning of this Torah portion, that we forget that there is a whole world that needs our attention. And I think that one of the most important moral challenges that emerges from this Torah portion is to run out and to do what is right. By running out, I don't mean to run out to Canada. I mean to run out in the direction of fulfilling a mitzvah, of bringing healing, of meeting the needy, even when we are experiencing pain. Because that's the path forward. The path forward is to leave the tent, to stop being focused only on our pain, and to offer healing and well-being to others. And so we might ourselves find the healing that we need to experience. Shabbat Shalom.